up, big dogs? Next up, hometown favorite, me and Noah's guy, Cam Akers. I know a lot of people out there hating on his yards per carry. I don't give a fuck because this guy's our boy, okay? Let me give you the rundown on my boy Akers, okay? The most telling stat and the thing that I want to open with is this. Cam Akers on expected running downs on first and second down, his offensive line gained him 2 yards. Not 2 yards per carry, 2 yards the entire season, okay? To put that in perspective, the FBS average is around 770 yards. Wisconsin is around 1,500 plus. Georgia, again, like nearing that 1,500 to 2K range. So the gap between Cam Akers' O-line and the O-line of other people cannot be understated. And in spite of that, this dude still produced, okay? He had a little bit of a down year in 2018, but in 2017, as a true freshman with less than 200 carries, he put up 1,000 yards, 7 tutties, 16 catches for 116 yards. This last season, he completely redeemed himself. 231 carries for 1,100 yards for 5 yards per carry. Honestly, this dude had no business averaging 5 yards per carry. If you don't see that, I don't know what to say to you.
I don't know, Mike. I've heard from
touchdowns.
various sources the offensive line doesn't matter, so we won't
Dude,
name.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you, man. And then he's got 30 catches for 225 yards. And I don't know if you guys watched the combine, but he looked freaking smooth, okay, in a lot of those pass catching drills. And he's got quick ass feet, man. I tweeted about him. I called him Cam Balishnikov Akers, and I think that's honestly what it is. Like when he did those drills, like it looked like he was going in fast forward and everyone else going in slow mo.
Yeah, I told you I usually leave like the foot analysis up to Rex Ryan and Tarantino, but you know when you watch him in that, I forgot what the drill was called. It was that dude that was there. It was like his drill. Like he looked like a lawnmower, like the blades on a lawnmower just like slicing through. Like he's just quick. He is fast. He is big. He's what you want in a running back. And the only thing that's really left for him the only box that's left for him to check is draft capital. But you hit the nail on the head. His offensive line was terrible this year. We've heard it ad nauseum, right? 115th. It could have been like 200. Only 130 were ranked. If you said he ran behind the 200th worst offensive line, I would have believed you because that's how bad they were. It's honestly like that Jon Snow gif where he like pulls out his sword and there's like 1,000 people running at him. Every single carry he gets, he has guys up in his grill just trying to fight him. And he's like, bro, chill out. I used to be a quarterback. This isn't even my position, but I guess I'll put your ankles in the dirt. And that's that. So, but you look at also the teams he went up against, right? 4 of the teams he played were top 22 in adjusted line yards, defensive lines, adjusted line yards. 6 were in the top 50. So it's not like he ran behind a shit offensive line and was playing shit teams. He was playing legitimate competition. And although the efficiency, to the not untrained eye, but just looking from the outside in, it didn't look fantastic. But his broken tackle numbers, as you said, the 2 yards, like how hard could it be to have more than 2 yards created? Like I could go out there and like on 300 snaps, just like punch a guy in the face and get 3 yards. Like it's not that hard, guys. Like you're D1 athletes, do a little better. But to put more context behind it, he was 24th in the least yards before contact in the entire FBS this year. And I know that's like a mouthful, but it basically means his offensive line did him no favors. Only 32.3% of his rushing yards came before contact. So quick math, like 67.7% came after contact, which is a very high rate. On top of that, against Power 5 teams, 72.7% of his rushing yards came after contact. So he was making men miss in the hole. He was making men miss on the outside. There's clips that I'm going to put up to back it up. The way he just makes men miss, before, at, and after the line of scrimmage, my comp for him is Damian Williams, and honestly, that's probably not doing him enough justice. I see it just because the size and the elusiveness that Damian Williams wants to show like twice a year in the Super Bowl against the Chargers. Like those good flashes are basically what you see with Cam Akers. If he lands in a situation with a decent offensive line, with somebody who, like David Montgomery this year landed in Chicago, they had a pass catching weapon down there. If he lands in a spot that doesn't have that third down specialist like a Tariq Cohen, he could be somebody who can step into a 50, 60, push it at 70 catch roll right as a rookie because we've seen him produce. He's averaged over, I think it was like 23 receptions per year at FSU. His team did him no favors to get him in open space to produce on those catches, but he was still very efficient given the situation. So Yeah, he's just an all-around player. And another underrated aspect of his game is how well he pass blocks. Right, he only allowed 15 pressures on 324 pass block snaps, which is better than basically every offensive lineman on the Cardinals this past year. And if you just
Better
watch
than
him,
every offensive lineman he played with.
dude, honestly, the Cardinals might draft him to play left tackle. They're just like, yeah, you're no longer a running back. You go quarterback, running back, now you're left tackle. Kyler Murray would love that because he could probably see over his head. But if we're looking at what he did in the pass blocking game, he was taking on defensive tackles. I think it might have something to do with him being a former quarterback and understanding how to read a defense and seeing where pressure comes from. Obviously, he picks up more of that stuff when he plays running back, but his awareness on guys coming off the edge on different types of blitz packages, the way he just reacts quickly and just picks up the block is something that's going to be appreciated at the next level. It's something that early in Aaron Jones's career kept him off the field. If that's something that he shows right away to these old school coaches, they're going to want him on the field because he's not only a threat in the passing game, the running game, he's also a threat in the blocking game, keeping the quarterback safe. So all around, he's not that he's a no-miss prospect, but he checks a ton of boxes: athleticism, size, speed, production in the face of terrible, terrible situation. All he needs is draft capital. And I know the guys talking at the combine, the commentators aren't necessarily the most clued in terms of where these guys are going, but everyone just kept saying he's going to be a second or third round pick. And if that happens in a good situation, the sky's the limit for this kid. And he could really move into that RB1 or RB2 spot if the draft capital is there.
Yeah, he's a 3-down threat, man. And I was so pumped for the combine because I knew that he was someone where, people weren't talking about him enough, the national media heads. And you really do need that attention to kind of get the hype. And he went out there, man. He answered all the questions about his speed, ran a 4.47 at his size of 218 pounds. So, he's a prototypical size, and he put the teams on notice, man. He's a good athlete too. He's got put up 20 reps on the bench, 66 percentile burst score. So I really do think he's the full package. And, you commented a bit about him playing a quarterback. And I just want people to understand, like, this dude was not a running back coming into college, okay? If you can, like, try and find some Cam Akers high school highlights. But let me just give you a sense for what he did in his senior year. In his senior year, he rushed for 2,100 yards and 34 touchdowns. And he passed for 3,100 yards and 31 touchdowns. So this guy put up 65 touchdowns.
That should be allowed. Like, you should honestly be arrested for that type of production.
Yeah, as a senior, not as a running back, as a dual threat quarterback. And then he became the second highest ranked running back of his class by 24/7 Sports. So highly sought after recruit.
Was Taylor
not even for
one?
the position. No, it was Nagi Harris.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I remember those highlights of him back in high school. He was like 6'2", 250. It's crazy.
Yeah. So he's from that perspective, like, I say his weakness is that he's raw, right? Because he's still learning. He hasn't played this position his entire life, and he's just still learning, right? And if he lands in a good system that teaches him the right way, and some of those things I mentioned, like just taking more efficient routes and learning to, like, run through leverage versus running where the hole is, and just anticipating and being able to read some of those defenses, I think, like, in my eyes, he has the highest ceiling of anyone in this class because he can do stuff physically that no one else can. I get it, Jake.
For him, Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's my new comp for him.
Yeah,
that dude, his highlights going into the draft was him in an open gym, like dribbling around chairs. You talking about how he's raw and, like, his ceiling is so high. It just popped in my head, like, he could be the Giannis of the NFL. And I know running backs don't matter, but Cam Akers, he matters to us. I'm running with that comp. If I'm writing him up in the draft guide, I'm putting him in the Spider-Man meme. I don't care. That's what I'm.
You know what? I had Joe Mixon, but I might have to change it to the Greek Freak after you just mentioned.
Have to do it.
And honestly, I mean, like, comping NBA, like, looking at NBA highlights is all the hype these days for comping NFL players. So
it is true.
Henry Ruggs might be onto something there.
101, right in front of Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, there really isn't much that I don't like about the player. Like, knows gonna put up some clips. I really love the Louisville game. Like, I've seen that game, all 22, like, game, like, full game highlights, like, everything. I've seen that thing, like, probably 20 times, and I came away impressed every time, mostly with his footwork and, like, how he basically handles getting met in the backfield, like, basically every other snap. I mean, that's something that's really tough to do. And, granted, he's in the ACC. It's not the toughest competition like the SEC, but these are still, like, top flight athletes, right? And when you give top flight athletes free run into the backfield, like, I don't care who you are. You're not – it's very hard to get out of the backfield. Like, that's what people don't realize. Like, yes, he didn't face, like, Alabama and LSU every time, but if you have 3 top flight athletes in the backfield, like, if you're not a phenom, like, you're not getting out of the backfield. That's just the reality of the situation. So
Yeah, the
Look, I mean,
our overall takeaway from him is he's just a very good player that showed everything that he needs to show at the combine, at the college level. All that we need is one coach to believe in him, take him inside of day 2. If he goes
yeah,
day 1, I think we can just like retire and just never make a video again and just like live off
I
that hype.
quit, dude. We out.
I,
Yeah.
I might just retire and just like only watch Cam Akers games from there on out. But yeah, all he needs is draft capital. That's one of the most important things for running backs. And honestly, after everything he's shown, and I'm sure for how, subjectively dumb these front offices are, I think they know these numbers almost as well as we do in terms of how bad their offensive line was. And they can watch the games and see how bad it was, that they're going to know he's a good talent. He showed that, at every level. So I think somebody's going to take a chance on him. And I think somebody's going to give him the opportunity to lead a backfield and then, give us fantasy relevance, which is what this is all about.
Yeah, and he's got all the character too, man. I think that's something that we never understand because we don't get to interview the players, right?
I love that clip.
That clip of him, like they gave him every opportunity to completely shit on his O-line, and he did not. He just said, like, look, I wish I did more. I wish I could have accomplished more for the school. I love my teammates. I felt like we come together, and I'm ready for the next level, and I just want to like show people what I can do.
He could have,
and like I think that says a lot.
Yeah, my team sucked, and that's why I wasn't all that good. I mean, I had nobody. I had like baby hands, Jack Doyle, 5 of them on the offensive line, not doing anything for me. Instead, he's like, yeah, I love my teammates. They did all that they could. We put out the best that we could. We had the best seasons available to us. Like, he's just a good dude that isn't going to throw people under the bus. He's like the Leonard Fournette antithesis. Like everything about him speaks to him being a leader from what I've seen. And he's just a good football player.
And he's not even 21 by the draft, dude. He's 20 years old by the draft. He can't even drink when he gets drafted, man. That's how young this guy is. And like no injury history either. So
he's new Jason Tatum. He's only 19.
Where are you taking him in the draft? I'm curious. Like is he basically your 1.03 overall?
He's 103 right now. I like him better than the guy we're about to talk about in J.K. Dobbins. Obviously, if he goes like round 4 or 5, it's going to be hard to keep.
Yeah, of course.
I have enough faith in where he's going to land and the spot in the position where he lands in terms of draft capital that I'm going to leave him at least the 103. As I said earlier, if it's a favorable landing spot, like I just always go back to the Steelers. Like if it's in Pittsburgh, it's going to be hard for me to not move him. Yeah, top
he's
1.
Physical. He's like an athletic James Conner, right?
Yeah, he's like a James Conner that won't get hurt week 13 every year.
Yeah, I think it's true, man. I think landing spot is really important, right? And but like the thing is, I never really jump tiers for landing spot, right? Like if Keyshawn Vaughn, who's someone I think that has a good chance of landing, like KC, for example, like I would never take him over like JT or Swift, right? But if Cam Akers lands in Kansas City, like in the 3rd round, I'm gonna have a hard time not taking Cam Akers at first overall.
You have a 3-player tier, right?
Yeah, 3-player tier.
Yeah. For me, it's 3. J.K. Dobbins like right on that teetering line because I think he can finish or he can be drafted early, but him not participating in the combine, which we'll get into with the next breakdown, is if it was due to injury, whatever. But like I don't know, it's not a good look.
Yeah,
that you go over
we'll
there,
get into it.
Yeah, you bench 23 times and you leave. Like, what are you trying to prove?
Yeah, we'll get into it. Look, that's all we got for Cam Akers. That's our boy. Our brand, if he sucks, you'll probably won't see another episode from us because that's like what our brand is standing on right now is Cam Akers. But look, we love him. Dude, fuck the complaints about his yards per carry. His O-line was trash. He's a physical talent. I mean, just get on him, man. Don't listen to all that noise. Don't overthink it. This guy is that dude. And get that dude on your team. And I think, honestly, like other people don't have him at RB3. They probably have Dobbins over him. Some people even have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So you could be sitting at like 1.06, 1.07 and getting Cam Akers. Dude, I'm telling you, if I get Cam Akers 1.07, I am erect. Okay, so I hope you guys will be too. So
we got to end this video.
This show's got no balance, guys. All right, we're going moving on. Hope you guys enjoyed it.